Okay, we're going live on YouTube now. Do you need the YouTube link?
No.
Okay.
Oh, we might get some nasty feedback. I should probably just mute my mic.
Turn off the music too, please.
Let's see.
Good. Let me go ahead and start recording. Say something. Hello, welcome to the Citizen Workshop for Desert Blockchain Camps on Saturday, July the 10th, 2021. It is 11 a.m. Arizona time. And today we're going to be featuring Stellar, the cryptocurrency, the Internet of Things, and games. And we have a special guest today presenting, Shane Sandler. He's going to be showing his winning project in the latest Stellar hackathon that is a launcher as well as tied to the Stellar blockchain cryptocurrency and using Node-RED and some really fun stuff where you can actually operate the turret for the launcher and launch the launch tennis balls and things like that at targets with this platform. So before I turn it over to Shane, I would like to say that this is for Desert Blockchain citizens. The Citizen program is how we support the activities here for the Desert Blockchain community and Desert Blockchain Camp. It's $10 per month, and you sign up on Patreon. We do appreciate the folks that are citizens, and we're going to be opening up new benefits. So I would recommend that you sign up to be a citizen as soon as possible on Patreon. And the longer you've been a citizen, the higher the priority you have in terms of signing up for events and other benefits. So thank you for your support. And I would like to also say that we're going to have these sessions, these workshops for citizens on Saturdays at 11 a.m. Arizona time, which is also 11 a.m. Pacific time at this point, for 1 hour for the foreseeable future on every Saturday. So if you happen to miss this one, tune in next week at the same time. You're also welcome as a citizen to be here in person at the Desert Blockchain Camp, which is at 2655 West Georgia Avenue, 85012 near the Grand Canyon University campus. You can be here in person and learn about some of these really cool projects. We plan to show you how to build these yourself and interact with cryptocurrency, the Internet of Things, virtual platforms, and many exciting opportunities. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Shane. And Shane, you can go ahead and start.
Sounds good. We can go ahead and mute so we don't get that feedback.
Sorry.
All right. So this is the Crypto Cannoneer live stream over here. So you might have seen me moving it around a little bit while Jay was doing the intro there. And then when we go to fire it, you can see it's all controlled through the Telegram chat. So we got to arm it first. And it gives us a little countdown. And then we can go ahead and launch tennis balls. So we currently showed the admin disarm. So this is a good opportunity for me to pull up the Node-RED and show you how some of my admin controls work and give you a little showcase on the Node-RED backend. So if you don't have an intro to cryptocurrency and Node-RED yet, this is going to be a great place to start. And we'll be walking through a lot of the concepts and things that make all this work for the IoT and cryptocurrency side. So first, let me pull up my Chrome here, and I will pull up the Node-RED connection. So we did just change Wi-Fi networks in here, so I probably have a different IP address on my Node-RED. So let's go ahead and walk through how we get the IP address. Actually, let me get my command prompt up. and do ifconfig all IP config. Okay, so we've got our IP config here. Seeing disconnecting, IP config. All. There we go. Let's see, I'm just scrolling through IP config, looking for that Raspberry Pi. So all of this IoT stuff that we're going to be showcasing is all running off of Node-RED and Raspberry Pis. So those are really powerful for how cheap they are, and you can get a lot done, especially with small IoT devices like this. I'm just trying to find that Raspberry Pi. Sorry for the delay. People that are going to be watching this recording, you'll be able to fast forward. It's not showing me the Pi IP address. So let's try it another way. Let's try it just by logging right into the router. Dashboard. If it wants to play nice. Usually it would pop up an admin login. It doesn't want to do that either. Let's see here. Okay, well, how can we get the IP address for that Pi so we can get logged into the Node-RED? Well, there is one connection showing here. It isn't explicitly telling me that it's the Raspberry Pi, but we can try it. Let me see. So it's showing me here an address of 1.29. So we'll go ahead and just try that. So when you're trying to log into your Raspberry Pi, it's or when you're just trying to log into Node-RED, whether it's running on a Pi or not, you take your IP address, colon 1880. Let's see, so that isn't it. That is some other device, probably my phone or something on that IP address. Let's see. LAN connection. Okay, well, the easiest way to get the IP address is apparently going to be for me to hop onto the Pi real quick and just find it that way. So sometimes that's what you have to do. Give me just a moment and we will get that IP address and get this show on the road. So I am just pulling up command prompt on my Raspberry Pi now. I know you can't see it, but just grabbing that IP address real quick. we will get these flowing a little bit more smoothly. Bear with us for our first one here. And we're experimenting with new setups and in this whole space, so everything here is highly experimental. And we will definitely be improving with time. Apparently, I've got the wrong. So the ipconfig command works on Windows command prompt, but it's not liking me on the ifconfig is what I need on Linux. I'm relatively new to the Linux system, so you'll be learning right alongside me. Just barely got enough Linux experience and knowledge to make this Raspberry Pi stuff work. That's the extent of all of my Linux experience. So let me just snap a picture of this real quick. So I'll have my IP addresses and then switch on back to you guys. Okay. Now that I have all the IP information for my Raspberry Pi, I should be able to get logged into the Node Red. Let's see. So I'm seeing the LAN. So it looks like there's just a view of that if you're curious what that command prompt looked like. And so now that I've got my IP, I can just go ahead and fill that in. All right. Had to switch the keyboard between the machines. Okay, so it looks like the IP address that I need is 155. So when you're using Node-RED, if you don't have an intro to Node-RED, there are a lot of great tutorials out there. I would just recommend Googling some intro to Node-RED. We will probably end up making a tutorial about it at some point. But here's what the Cannoneer flow looks like in Node-RED. So Node-RED, if you aren't familiar, it's a low-code, no-code programming interface, which makes it easier for visual programmers to create software. So I wouldn't consider myself a coder. I would say maybe at best I'm a programmer. Node-RED is the only way I know how to do any sort of back end. So what you see here when you're looking at this Node-RED flow is basically the programmatic diagram for how the software behind what the turret does works. So like right here, you see these are all my Telegram commands. This is what is actually listening to the Telegram chat. So when you put in a command into Telegram, like left or right, it's actually triggering this. So right here for left and right, you can see the flow. We'll start with up and down because that's actually a simpler one. So you can see the flow here. When someone puts in up or down, it checks it and makes sure that it's got the right payloads, and then it actually triggers the pins on the Raspberry Pi. And the Raspberry Pi is triggering the linear actuators that make the turret actually move. So if we backtrack a little bit to what I was just trying to show a little demo of, was that when we try to fire, I have admin disarms and admin controls in here to make sure that I've got safety checks and things like that. So before anyone can actually arm and fire the turret, I have to turn on the admin arm. So those are these two controls right here, which the flow is basically checking to make sure this admin function has been enabled. So we can start with an admin arm there, and then you can see I tried to make sure that each of my inputs and outputs actually produce something into the Telegram chat, so that if that's all you're watching, then you can actually see what is going on kind of on the back end. So you can see the Telegram put out the admin armed command. So now we should be able to actually fire. So let me turn off my screen share, or we can leave the screen share up. And there we go. So that's how this works. Currently has to be manually reloaded. So yeah, you just drop a tennis ball in, and that is sort of the overview right there of how some of this is working. Let me go ahead and pull up my schedule for this meeting so we can sort of start going in a little bit more of an organized fashion now that we got through that initial hiccup. So one of the first things I wanted to talk about was getting started with Node-RED and Stellar. So if you don't have a background in cryptocurrency and Stellar, there are a wealth of resources and information online. So I would just recommend starting on, YouTube or whatever your preferred way to learn is, to start learning about, private keys and secret keys, so you can get a basic understanding of how some of the backend in cryptocurrency works. Hopefully, I imagine we'll be doing a really beginner focused tutorial on the basics of cryptocurrency and key pairs at some point here in the future. But for now, for the purposes of this video, we'll assume that you understand key pairs and secret keys. And so then we will dive into some of the backend for Node-RED and specifically for Stellar. So let's see, let me hop over to the Zoom chat here. I'm going to put a link. So the easiest way to find the, let me just move this down a little bit so that my bar stops blocking it. Oh, come on, do what I want. There we go. This Zoom bar just keeps blocking my tabs up there. So we will go to, or actually I can just use this browser and make things easier. No, that's not true. Okay, so we will go to my website, which is blockchaingerous.com. And I will drop a link in the chat here to the actual, and then we're going to go over to Stellar Red and Red Horizon. So I'm calling this Node-RED flow Stellar Red, just a combination of Stellar and Node-RED. And then the actual backend flow for this creates a wallet interface that you can use for working on the testnet and just general development tools for working with Stellar. So those development tools I'm calling Red Horizon. So here you'll find a nice little walkthrough on how to get started with my little Stellar Node-RED SDK. So I will copy this link over to the chat and put it in Zoom here. And then if you follow that link, it gives you this basic intro to this Node-RED flow. But as far as actually getting started with it goes, you're going to want to come down here to this post, getting started with Stellar Red. And this actually has a step-by-step, not quite step-by-step, it's a basic walkthrough of how to get started using this flow with Stellar. Another beginner tutorial I'm sure we'll be putting out in the future will be step-by-step how to get this installed and how to get started with it. And we'll do the basic walkthrough right now so that people can see, because this Raspberry Pi actually doesn't have this flow running on it yet. So we'll go ahead and get started. So when you get started with Stellar Red, you're going to want to go to the actual flow on the Node-RED library. So that's that link that I just clicked there. And so this is, you could either copy and paste this right into your Node-RED in order to get the flow going. So when you want to import a flow into Node-RED, Sorry, my Zoom pop-ups here are blocking some of my buttons that I need. So you can import it into a new flow and you can just copy and paste it right in. And that is going to bring in a few flows because this SDK is a bit robust. There's just different tabs and different flows for creating different backend elements for this flow. The primary one we're going to be focusing on is the testnet flow here. This just allows us to do basic things on the Stellar network. So from here, it actually won't work natively unless you install. It's not install. You just have to add a little bit, 2 lines into the settings file in your Node-RED. And that is explained here in the getting started with Stellar Red post. And I'll go through that in more detail in a different beginner's tutorial. But basically, yeah, you just have to add these 2 lines right here into your settings file. And this just allows Node-RED to access the Stellar SDK so that it can perform all the functionality that we need. So this Raspberry Pi and this Node-RED install already has that code in there. So it should work. So now that we've got this imported, we're just going to go ahead and deploy it. And so this flow utilizes the dashboard functionality of Node-RED, which basically creates a little front-end UI for you, not accessible over the greater internet, but accessible on your local network. So once that has deployed, we will go ahead and access that. All you have to do to access that is the same thing that you did to access the Node-RED. Pardon me. And then you're just going to do /UI at the end. That's how you get to your front-end user interface that you built out with the dashboard node of Node-RED. So this Raspberry Pi is just compiling this and figuring it out. It is got a few, there it goes, successfully deployed. It takes a few seconds there because it's, like I said, there's a fair amount going on back there. So we'll go ahead and copy and paste that in and add the /UI so that we can get to our front end. So this is the front end that I built out and that is available as open source for that Node-RED SDK. So like I said, this isn't going to be a super beginner focused tutorial if you don't know anything about cryptocurrency and wallets and key pairs. We will go into that at a later date. But if you are familiar with cryptocurrency wallets, this should look familiar. You can send transactions, you can get a public key from a secret key. And then so some of the unique features here that you might not be familiar with if you're not as familiar with Stellar as opposed to some other cryptocurrency networks, blockchain networks, DLT, whatever you want to call it. Stellar has native make offer functionality as a native decentralized exchange. So you can do that directly in the SDK. And Stellar also allows creation of custom tokens. That's what the whole basis is for the whole decentralized exchange. So you can send assets other than the native XLM lumens. A little bit else about this SDK and these development tools. So this interface here is useful for all sorts of things, from just moving assets between accounts to testing functionality. And then some of these other tabs here have some more robust functionality. So this generate key pair is going to be useful. This connects directly to the Stellar testnet, and it generates a new key pair, and it also accesses the Stellar friend bot, which automatically funds the key pair that was just created on testnet. And this key pair could be used as well on the mainnet. Obviously, I won't be using this key pair since the secret key is now public information on this recorded live stream. But if you weren't live streaming this, you would be able to use this key pair both on public and or both on the testnet and on the public mainnet. So you can copy and paste this right here to see the actual block explorer for Stellar. So that's the key pair we just created, and you can see it's been funded with 10,000 test lumens on the testnet. And as you can see, we're on testnet. So that is where you can get started creating your own accounts. And then you can hop back over into the UI here, and you can take this secret key. I'm going to go ahead and just make a little note here of these keys so that I have them. I'm going to use 2 different accounts just to send a basic test transaction between the 2. Let me just open up my notepad, and I will store this key so that when we make a new one, I can still access this one. As I'm working on this, it seems like a useful dev tool might be to create a little database right here that stores recently created keys so that you can just pop out new keys for doing testing. All right, so here's our new account. So we're going to go ahead and go back to the testnet wallet. We'll go ahead and put in that new secret key, and we'll use that first key pair that we created as our destination. We'll just use a memo below. And how about we send them 5 test lumens? So we'll go ahead and that, and it's submitting to Stellar, and Stellar blocks complete every 5 seconds. So that's about how long a transaction takes. And then we can take this link right here. Don't need the success part. We just need that. We can go ahead and copy and paste that over. I would love to figure out how to turn those into active hyperlinks. I haven't gotten quite that deep into the dashboard of Node-RED, and if that's feasible, we will ultimately be porting a lot of this over to a public UI on my website, but that is down the road. So yeah, as we can see here, we successfully transferred the 5XLM. So our original account now has 10,000 lumens minus the 5 we sent, minus the transaction fee, which on Stellar it's 0.00001 XLM. So I think lumens are floating around 25 cents these days. So you can accomplish, I think it's about 10,000 transactions for 1 lumen, or 1,000 transactions for a penny. So it's an extremely affordable way to do microtransactions and gaming. And that's one of the big reasons that I am personally developing on Stellar. So as you can see on this Block Explorer 2, you can look at the different accounts. So this is the account that sent it, and then it sent it to this account. And you can see this one has 10,005 lumens. So that's the 10,000 lumens from the friend bot and 5 that we just transferred over. The reason we had to do the friend bot is that even though you can create a key pair on Stellar for free, the network won't actually register it as a funded account on the blockchain and on the ledger until it has at least 1 lumen in it. So that is how you create a testnet account using this Node-RED SDK. And then you can create custom assets and all sorts of things like that. And we will continue to walk through that. I'm just going to look at my schedule here, just make sure I'm staying on track. Yeah, so we're just basically doing a little rundown here of Stellar and this Red Horizon dev tools. This isn't explicitly related to Stellar, but this tab just gives you some pricing. This is accessing the Kraken API, just to tell you what's going on in the market right now. And then we can get into some of the more advanced functionality of this Red Horizon dev tools. So let's see, what's going to be the best way to talk about how tokens work on Stellar. Let's go back to the Block Explorer. So this is my personal favorite block explorer for Stellar. There's quite a few other options. This is just the one that I prefer, Stellar Expert. So you can see all these custom assets that people have created specifically on the test net. If we go over to the main net, we can see some of the more popular assets that are actually being traded and used on the Stellar network. One thing that Stellar is really passionate about is international remittances. So you can see a lot of various fiat currencies represented here. On Stellar, the way that the terminology that is used is that these would be called anchored tokens. So an anchored token on Stellar is one that represents something outside of the actual Stellar network. So for USD coin, that means that this USD token on Stellar is theoretically exchangeable for one actual USD in your bank account from this anchor, anchorusd.com. So if you trust Anchor USD to actually give you $1 for every USD coin that you hold on the Stellar network, then you can basically treat those USD coins as actual USD. But they will be usable within the Stellar decentralized exchange. Oh, you're muted, Jay. Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, as Jay was saying there, he didn't realize he was muted because we were getting feedback between our two machines. I got kicked off. Sorry about that technical issue. I got kicked off because our hotspot overheated. It's a little warm here. I don't know if you guys know about desert blockchain, but we are in the desert. But yeah, he was just saying this is our first workshop, and so we apologize for some of these technical issues. We will have them all worked out by next Saturday's meetup when we do this again, but far better. So let me get my screen share back up and we will try to continue where we left off. Okay, so we were using the block explorer. That actually might be why it wasn't pulling up those transactions or those assets, because it was no longer connected to the internet. And that is the case. So, sorry, Stellar Expert, not your fault. So this is, a USD token on Stellar. And this one is specifically anchored by a company called Anchor USD. So you can trade this USD token for any other asset on the Stellar network. So there are quite a few different UIs available for accessing the Stellar decentralized exchange. They're all basically just front ends because they're all working off of the native decentralized exchange on Stellar, which is one of my other favorite things about Stellar, is that all of these, a lot of people think they're different dexes, but they're just different front ends for the same dex. So Stellar X is one of my favorites. There's Stellar Term, there's Interstellar, there's new ones popping up almost every week, as far as people just creating new front ends and UIs for the Stellar decentralized exchange. So Stellar X right here, it defaults to organizing by daily trade volume. So like this is another anchored coin, stable cent. It's designed to be pegged to 1 cent, and it is redeemable for 1 cent from the issuer. Some tokens like this is Doge token, which isn't even an anchored version of Dogecoin. It's just a random token that is piggybacking on Doge's name. So you can create literally anything on Stellar. So you've got to be careful about what you're buying because it could be total nonsense.
Shane, there was a report this morning, speaking of bogus coins, that somebody has created a Chia coin on Stellar.
That's fake?
That's fake, yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah, especially,
FYI.
yeah, so you got to be really careful about that stuff because you can create anchored tokens on Stellar that are intended to be representative of and swappable for the real version on the native network. That's how like these anchored versions of Bitcoin work, and anchored versions of Ethereum. But you have to trust the issuer that you'll actually be able to redeem that token on the native network for what you want it to be for. Because people can also just create scams or tokens that were never even advertised as being anchored versions of that token, but people mistakenly assume that they are. That's what's going on with this Doge token, that it's never intended to be an anchored version of Dogecoin. It's just a scam. So you have to be very careful about what issuers you trust as far as Stellar tokens go, because anyone can create them for almost no money. You can create a new token on Stellar for less than $1. So that opens it up to literally anyone. Going back to, so this is just the Stellar X interface. So USD coin is one of my personal favorite anchored USD pegged tokens. And so you can hop in here, you can see the order book currently on the Stellar network. You can make trades if you create a Stellar X account, and you don't have to create a Stellar X account to use the Stellar Decentralized Exchange by any means. You can do it directly through the Stellar Laboratory or through your own sort of interface through into the Stellar network because it is totally open. I guess at this point I should probably pull up the Stellar Laboratory since I just mentioned it. So the Stellar Development Foundation, which is the nonprofit that is sort of in control of Stellar and the majority of the lumens that are not in circulation, they created this wonderful front end for accessing basically any functionality you could need on Stellar. So this is just an alternate way of doing things if you don't have, say, like my SDK or my dev tools running on Node-RED yet. So you can generate key pairs right here in the Stellar Laboratory. You can fund the account using FriendBot. You can explore various endpoints in the Stellar network from accounts to ledgers to operations, whatever you need to look at as far as just seeing what's been happening on the Stellar network. You can build any type of transaction you need, from a payment to an offer, if you're trying to create an offer on the decentralized exchange there. And then you can sign your transactions and submit them. So this is the official Stellar front end. And then if you go to the Stellar website, you can find all sorts of recommended wallets and various ways, other front ends and UIs for interacting with the Stellar network. Let me pull that up real quick. So stellar.org, this is their main website. If you're looking for a wallet for yourself, this is a good way to find different ones. I'm trying to remember where they put them. I know they have a nice little section of official wallets and recommended wallets. If I can just find it real quick. Get started, maybe. That's where I would put it. So this is specifically for people trying to build on Stellar. Stellar. I think I would put, that's where I would put the wallet thing. It looks like they've updated their website more recently. Intro to Stellar. Maybe they put the link to wallets there. Build those Stellar. I know that they have it. Let me just Google it. It used to be much more intuitive, and maybe I'm just screwing up at the moment. There we go. I don't know how to navigate to here on their current site, but if you just Google Stellar Wallets, you can get to the official Stellar Wallets recommendations. My personal favorite is Lobster. They have a wonderful app if you're trying to do mobile. A lot of these other ones have wonderful desktop interfaces, but some of their mobile interfaces can be wanting. And you can see all sorts of other Stellar wallets that are available. They've got a few pages of them, and then there are quite a few more mainstream wallets that support other networks and other assets, and a lot of them will also support at least lumens, but a lot of the wallets I'm not familiar with yet. Hopefully this will change soon. A wallet that supports multiple other native networks and Stellar custom assets. Lobster is really great for accessing the decentralized exchange and trading Stellar custom assets, but it doesn't have access to any other native networks. Like you can't access the Ethereum network per se on Lobster like you could on like Trust Wallet. Trust Wallet isn't an official Stellar wallet, but you can hold lumens next to Bitcoin and Ethereum and Binance Coin, but it won't give you access to custom assets on the Stellar network. So you kind of have to take the pros and cons there with some of these different wallets until somebody creates a wallet that does all the things that we need. So let me take a look at my agenda here. I think we're doing pretty good with the basic overview on Stellar, the basic run through of this UI. I think this is a good place for me to transition away from Stellar and get into the Node-RED and Crypto Cannoneer. So we will go through some more of the functionalities of Stellar and the Red Horizon dev tools at a later date. And we will hop in now back into the launcher and Cannoneer here. That probably got disconnected when the internet went down, so now we got that reconnected. So you really don't need to look at this at all. So I'm probably going to turn off my screen share here, and we'll go back to just the live stream of Cannoneer here. This is also open source, this backend for Crypto Cannoneer. You can find links on my website and my GitHub if you're interested in that. All right, I'm going to end this screen share. And okay, now you should have this nice full screen of the live stream here. So I've got my phone out because I'm currently using Telegram on my phone. So you can pull up the little controls for the cannon or launcher, turret, whatever you want to call it. And you can do it that way. I can also do it on the desktop here. So you can see my mouse here in the live stream. So you can use the way that, if you're not familiar with Telegram, you can use, once you type in /, it'll show you the available commands. And so we can do /left, and it'll automatically ping that to the bot. Oh, it seems like the bot isn't responding at the moment. It should be giving us responses. It might just be trying to get reconnected after that internet drop. Let's see why we aren't connected. It says polling. So it's not connected at the moment. Let's see what we need to do to get this reconnected. I will go ahead and remove some of these flows, and then I'll redeploy, and we'll see if that gets it reconnected. Redeployed, it says polling, but usually it says connected on this back end. So I specifically wrote a test command for this, and it should respond that it's at the ready, but it is not. So we have to figure out how to get our Node-RED reconnected to our Telegram here. Let's see. I can either restart Node-RED, or I'll do a full redeploy on this, which that will go faster if I delete off some of these extra flows first. I'll go ahead and screen share again so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm back here on Node-RED. I'm just deleting off all these flows that we just imported for those dev tools, because it'll just make it a little bit faster on the Raspberry Pi as far as redeploying goes. So we can try to get that Telegram reconnected. I'm personally using the Raspberry Pi Zeros, so they aren't super fast. So anything I can do to make it a little easier will help speed it up. All right, so we'll go ahead and do a full redeploy there and hope that that'll get us reconnected to the Telegram API. Just waiting on that deploy. Like I said, I'm using the low-powered Raspberry Pis, so they have to chug through the computations. They are incredibly affordable though. These Raspberry Pi, there we go. So you can see that it's moving. Yeah, the main reason I use these Raspberry Pi Zeros for prototyping and testing and stuff is because they're just incredibly affordable. You can pick them up for 20 or 30 bucks usually, and they come with like complete kits for cases, and they have Wi-Fi embedded in them, so you don't really need any other accessories. So I really like them for low-cost prototyping. All right, I'm going to get back out of this screen share, and we can focus back on the stream. Okay, so now that we've got that back up, so we can use right, we can use up, we can use left, and I've got some additional features and fun stuff that this thing can do that we haven't quite rebuilt since we've moved it into the warehouse. You can probably see some of it on some of my older streams from back when this was at my house, and we will be getting that stuff incorporated as we move forward in the coming weeks. So we're gonna go ahead and arm it. I'm not sure if the admin disarm got reactivated after we lost the internet. I don't think that it should have. Let's find out. Oh, it did. So we got to go back into the node red. Let me screen share again just to show you and keep you involved. And we'll go ahead. So this is back to the node red, and I specifically put the admin arm right here. And you can see that it responded in the Telegram. And now we should be able to fire. And there it goes. All right, so like I said, we're still doing manual reloads. I do have a few design ideas for creating automatic reloading on this, which we will definitely be incorporating as soon as we can, because I want this to be able to run even when I'm not present. So let's see if we can shoot something into that bucket. Arm it again. And the reason we were talking about Stellar a lot is because this actually has a Stellar integration in it. You can see after I fire, in the Telegram, it's talking about awarding turret token. That is all on testnet still. That's not on mainnet. And it's actually not running at the moment, even though it's trying to do it. Stellar testnet wipes every quarter, and that just happened a few weeks ago, and I haven't rebuilt the accounts. I would actually like to do that. I'm going to record myself when I do that, and we can use that as another little intro to Stellar and showcase how to build a token. That can be maybe what we do for next time. Let me go ahead and reload this. Okay, so yeah, as you can see on the Telegram here, it's got a little interface there. If you, depending on whether you're on mobile or on desktop, you can pull up, I think that the official term in Telegram is a keyboard. On desktop, I think in order to pull it up, you have to use /help, and there it goes. You can see the little keyboard here now. And then you can just click controls so you don't have to type them, which I am a big fan of. And so yeah, usually when it starts that countdown, it's going to enable this little warning light right here, which is really nice for those of us that are in person and may or may not be standing on the business end of this, so we can know when it's armed. So that. So that was the air compressor turning on, just refilling it, but since we're only taking a couple shots here, I can just use the pressure that we've got so that you don't all get deafened, because it is a bit loud.
Why don't we wrap it up? We've got about 5 minutes left, Shane.
Yeah, sounds good. Is there anything else in particular you would like me to showcase or talk about?
I'd just like to encourage people to continue to follow along. What we're really trying to do is combine many different elements here and also have some fun learning. I would like to emphasize that our workshops, which will be scheduled for the foreseeable Saturdays at 11 a.m. for 1 hour for citizens, are designed to be a way for parents and youth to come together and build projects and have fun. So if you have youth that you would like to introduce to the Internet of Things, to cryptocurrency, to blockchain, to gaming, to building things, maker spaces, that sort of thing, this is your place to bring your youth 12 and up and create projects that you can both learn from. And so we really encourage parents, mentors to bring the youth in your life that you're interested in introducing to this new frontier of decentralization and what's possible with so many different realms. I mean, here we're live streaming, we're controlling a device over the internet, over Telegram. We've got it, Shane's got it integrated into a cryptocurrency, a platform. I mean, this is just the beginning. So this is really an opportunity for anybody who's interested in this area to come down here to the Desert Blockchain Camp, be part of these sessions if you're a citizen. I would say that we are requiring people to have their COVID-19 vaccinations at least 2 weeks prior to be here in person and basically learn, explore, co-create, have some fun, and really explore what's possible in this whole new world. So that's about it for today. Anything you'd like to say, Shane?
No, I think that's great. We would love to welcome members. It's only $10 a month, so go ahead and get your Desert Blockchain membership going so you can come down here and join us and play around with some of this fun tech that we're working on and hopefully learn something.
Yep. So if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, Jay Carpenter, which is jcarpenter@desertblockchain.com, JAYCARPENTER, all one word, at desertblockchain.com. And tune in, see what's fun. Shane's shown you a lot of stuff today. I mean, this is really a wide-ranging topic and exploration today, and it's often easier to be here in person. So if you get stuck on something, hung up, we can help you and build some really cool stuff. So anything else, Shane?
Absolutely, yeah. Like you're saying, we'd love to help you out. So join us on the live streams and in person, and then we can, address the topics that you want to talk about and give you any assistance that you need if you're trying to follow along or build something yourself.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I'm going to shut down the live stream.
All right.
And,
thanks for joining us and watching this recording, and hopefully you learned something, and we'll be seeing you in the future.